Yes, I just wanted to say hi to Jan because I didn't say hi when I first came on. I was too busy running my mouth. Hey,
Good
Stan.
morning. Good morning. You're looking bright and chirpy.
Yes.
Yes, I'm very chirpy. I've been on Zoom or in meetings all day, so it's like my mouth hasn't stopped. Okay,
And of course, it's the beginning of the day here for us.
Yes. So we're
end of the day for me here.
Yeah,
Julie, you
I
were
mean, even
actually
that's weird.
first. So you're number one.
I was, and
Yeah.
I've got my new glasses.
And then I think it was Jan, and then Gary, and
Yep.
Dan is number 4, and then me.
Carly's just popped in.
Oh, Carly. Carly can be number
Okay.
5, and I'll be number 6. Carly, you're after Stan.
So okay, so I'm going to start it.
Ready, steady, go.
The purpose of the mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create multiple sources of income together.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success, as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There's no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
Me again?
Yes.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We're open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone. Julie.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love.
Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware, and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from the time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and the effective utilization of the internet-based platforms.
The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time.
Beautiful. And Tony's here. Tony snuck in.
Hi, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Sorry I was late.
You have that sort of guilty grin on your face, like you've been having a whole heck of a lot of fun and no one knows why and how and what you've had that fun with.
I was up late last night.
We're not going to ask where and why.
You can ask. I was writing a blog post for the Your Desired Success thing.
See, I knew it was something wild that you were doing.
Hey, guess what?
What?
I was looking through some documents this week, through some files, and I came across something, and I just thought I had to save it and share it with you. Because way back, I cut something out, and I thought, that looks like a really good seminar. I'm going to go and do that.
No.
You do?
Oh boy. Hey, is your preferred life a distant what? What was that? I don't even remember that headline.
Is your preferred life a distant dream? Learn the secrets of getting there fast. Join Gary for a 2-hour foundational workshop for free.
Oh boy, that was a long time ago.
I remember that.
I want to do the free workshop, Gary. When's it happening?
Well, any day now.
You've got one every week now, 1 hour every
Yeah.
Wednesday morning.
That's right. We
Well, there
missed
you
you,
go.
Tony.
I had the intention of coming along, Gary. I just I cut out the newspaper clipping.
Well, that's okay, Tony. Late, and it's always better to be late than never.
All right.
Well, thanks for that little taste of nostalgia.
History. Just proof that you did come to Perth, and yes, you did have workshops.
Yeah, and proof that I've actually lived this long doing this stuff. So,
Looks like a very impressive seminar, actually.
well, those were good. I have to say, those were good.
Yeah.
You learn that you can program your mind for the success you deserve.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Mm.
Today, probably one of the topics that Gary touches on a lot, and I think we all do really, but yeah, just want to be a bit more specific about trauma. And we all understand that war veterans and, you know, people who've suffered huge impactful, violent things in their life suffer trauma. But when we're kids, the most interesting minor details can become traumatic, and we end up imprinting that, and that becomes how we make meaning out of our decisions and our interactions through our entire lives, and we're not conscious of it. So I thought it might be interesting to see how it plays out and how we can turn our trauma into our superpower. I was doing a meditation this week, and it just sprung on me that my superpower has become forgiveness and gratitude. And that's how simple our superpower can be. But that superpower has come about through experience that I've had to learn how to forgive and how to be grateful. So I just thought it might be an interesting topic to touch on and explore our own lives to see what we can turn our trauma into our superpower.
When V presented the idea to me, I was just like, well, of course, you know, that is the heart of all of it, quite frankly. I was just, my last client before this call is a very famous NFL football player. And he and his wife flew me out there to do a 3-day intensive with him at his home out in the Southwest, which I did. And we just got off a call after that intensive that I did with him, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. And he was lit up. And one of the things that had occurred, I certainly will never mention names, but there was infidelity in the relationship on his part, caused her a tremendous amount of trauma. And it was something they hadn't been, you know, together for a whole heap of years. And he had these old patterns from his younger days playing out in his marriage, ones that were pretty adolescent in how they were demonstrating themselves. I think one of the things that occurred was there was so much trauma that was created, but what emerged from that, it's almost like pain is our greatest teacher. We were sitting there talking, and I said to him, I'll call him Fred. I said, Fred, your smile is bigger. Your laughter is quicker to be expressed. Your energy is actually happy. What's changed? And he said, all the stuff we worked on lifted the impact of the trauma. And he said, we've been having conversations that are more real, more honest, more authentic than I ever dreamed that we could have. I finally can be everything I am, and certainly she's seen everything that I'm not. It's been this tremendous growth process for me to wake myself up to the patterns I was running. He listed this list for about 10 minutes of all the benefits of what this trauma was for literally both of them. And I sat back thinking, that literally from some of the worst events, if you don't allow them to break you, they're gonna make you. That rhymed. But it's true. If they don't break you, they'll make you. And I think that for my own self, I really want to hear everybody's experience of this as well. I sat back once in my office early on in my career and I said, why do I love doing this so much? Like, why do I love trying to help people break out of the misery of their lives? And I said, and then I kind of concluded, wow, I'm still doing my childhood pattern of trying to save my mother, but now it's everyone. It's like I stopped trying to save her because she died. And now I think I just find such meaning in trying to help everyone. And then I looked at it and I said, it seems as if the patterns of our childhood continue to evolve themselves and shine a light into the future of how we are supposed to actualize our lives. It's almost as if there is this destiny laid out for us that we are given as we go through the traumas, like the family historical issues, and we're molded by those issues. But every one of those issues sort of shine a light into what we're supposed to be doing as our life expression, as our soul purpose, as why we came here. And as I started to think about that, I got a little bit overwhelmed with gratitude for this one quote from A Course in Miracles. And it says, all things past, present, and to come is gently planned by one who unconditionally loves me. And when I really sat back and then I looked at my life and I look at all of the lives of the clients that I'm working with, I see that same pattern running through everyone. The trials and the tribulations, the pains and the traumas, all of it is here to almost form us in this fire of our ego's misery, and sometimes our body's misery, to this place where our soul awakens. And I don't think that there's any greater gift that we can get personally than to be able to look at our lives from that perspective, that it is gently planned by one who unconditionally loves me. For what purpose? I think to evolve ourselves to the point to where we can be a true, consistent light on the planet and help as many people as we can. Because this football player guy, who is this amazing, amazing man, he said to me today, he said, well, Gary, all I want to do is get as famous as I can to build up as big of a platform as I can so that I can go out there and save youth at risk. And I said, I want to play in that arena with you because I can, and I have things that I can help with. And I thought all of the things that this guy's been through, which has been a whole heap of stuff, and to come out the other side of that and be able to reframe his own mistakes into a point he doesn't hate himself, but is growing from it and can smile from it and realize the place it has in his life. That is the beginning of a true healing. Now, we had to do a lot of the emotional disconnect from those traumas from his past that drove those particular behaviors. However, when we start looking at all of our lives, I know that each one of us has had a set of experiences that have wounded us deeply, that has caused us great harm or great misery, if not physically, at least between the 6 or 7 inches between our ears. And it is now about really looking at our life, not in these tiny little compartments, but as a stream of purpose that runs through time and space, and how we can begin to start looking at our lives as a continuum rather than, oh, that trauma is a big mark in my life, or that one is a big mark in my life. It is literally the pressure. It's like, I like to think of the soul as silly putty. And the conditions of our, do you guys all know what silly putty is, first of all?
No.
I don't know if you do or not. It's from my time period. I just said that word. I thought, probably no one knows what the heck silly putty is. And I just said, oh, souls like silly putty. And everyone's going, I don't know what silly putty is. It was a substance that kids used to play with like clay, except it was real bendable and stretchable and all that. And so it's like the conditions of life, our family of origin and all the conditions of life are like two rocks with silly putty in the middle. And as the rocks continue to press, it sort of pushes out our soul in a very particular direction. And I like to think of life like that. It's like the pressures of life are forming me to follow a certain road. And if I follow that road, it keeps unraveling how I'm supposed to be actually contributing back to the world. If I fight it or try to stay connected or harden too much, it cracks me. But if I remain fluid and agile, it forms me and pushes me into the direction I'm supposed to be going in. So thank you for that, Tony. Yes, it is like Play-Doh, but it's more, it's better.
Elastic, more elastic, more elastic.
Yeah, it's this great substance. I don't know if it's on the market anymore, but I really do think that for each one of us, how we frame those the narratives in our minds, the way we shape those narratives now to look at ourselves and say, how did they serve me? What was the wisdom my soul was teaching myself through those experiences? And begin to actually start really looking at not just redefining them or healing them, but celebrating them for what we actually learned and became from them. And I just want to know what happened to you guys, and not necessarily so much the narrative, but what was the learning that actually emerged out of those experiences for you? Because we all have them. And I just wondered if anyone would like to share, because I could talk a lot about mine, but I'd rather hear about other people's. Who would like to share? V, I'm looking at you.
Okay, I'll start, Kelly. Yes, my big realization that has taken me a very, very, very long time is that I've always felt, just with my past experiences, that love is about obligation. And I'm obliged to do things for the people that I love or that are in my life to show that I love them. And it just kind of, the pressure was getting too much at one point in time. And the lessons were coming in, just bombarding me, until I finally realized that it's like, you know what? I'm doing this out of love and out of service because I can and because I'm capable, and this is what I'm good at, and this is why I'm here, is to help my family and the obligation kind of came out of it from that. I stopped feeling obliged and just realized that I'm being of service.
That's a huge awareness. Huge. Anybody else?
Go, Carly.
I love this topic because this is what I love. I think I'm fully into personal development and my inner child. And from my childhood, my inner child was never allowed to, by my parents' way of upbringing, to see a big vision. All I ever knew was to help others, which is good. But it was constant. We never did anything for our own selves. Like, we never had a dream or a desire to receive more than we had. It was just stuck at that. What we had was all we'll ever have. And so, but at the same time, all we ever did was help others get what they, like, help others. We're always helping others, sharing our service of being who we are and helping someone else, which is good. It's good, but it was like the little me missed out on ever knowing I could have more. And in the end, I didn't really help others because my heart cup emptied to the point where I was exhausted, tired, nothing left, not even my own joy. And then I had to flip that all around once I had children, because I didn't want them having the same upbringing I had. And so I flipped it all around and went back into spirituality and asked God for help. And within 2 weeks, God sent me the right direction. Because I just did a quick prayer and said, God, I need help. Because I thought, who am I going to get help off? No one seems to know what I'm talking about. So I thought, right, I'll ask God, and God just within 2 weeks had me on a different path instantly, to the fact that I became an angel, which is what I always wanted. Even when I was a young child, that's all I wanted to be, was an angel. And for 7 years, we worked as peace angels, dressed as angels, traveling the world performing peace. And that's all I want. All I want is peace. Like, all I want is peace, but with joy, of course. And so when I was about 16, all I wanted was to help people awaken their joy. And now when I do healing work, it awakens their joy. But it's like a joy that they're not used to. A lady in Texas I did a healing with, and it awoke her joy for 6 weeks, and it was an internal joy she'd never felt before. And she was around 50, and she thought she knew what joy was from her mindset. But when I did this one healing with her, she said for 6 weeks she had this internal joy and made new choices for her life. And that's what I want.
Cool. Well, thank you for that, darling. Thanks for that share. Tony, I'm kind of looking at you because you're looking at me.
Nothing to do with the camera being there, no?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, just thinking about what you've asked there. For me, I had a very sheltered upbringing, really. When I think about it, I'm very grateful for the childhood that I had. My two traumas, if you like, were, some might say, a karmic response to each other, was my 2 marriage breakups. Because the first one, I was the one who left, but it was traumatic because I didn't want to leave my 2 children. But I'd spent a couple of years really not being happy in that situation, and it came to the point where I felt that it was better for my children as well if they had 2 parents that loved them but that were separate, rather than 2 parents that will still love them but were being in conflict all the time. But I still found that a traumatic thing to make that decision and to have to leave the home and to go and start off again and manage the aftermath of that and the emotions that came with that and the guilt and everything else. And then the second one would be the second marriage breakup, where she left me. So I got a taste of my own medicine, I suppose, in that sense. But probably for me more traumatic because I thought I'd got it right second time round and really fully expected that the 2 of us would be sat on the rocking chairs together, and it wasn't a slow thing. It was like quite a long, drawn out situation. So I really felt with that one like the rug had been pulled out from under me. That everything, because we were business partners as well, and we'd built up this mini empire together, and we're really good partners in business. We complemented each other very well with our strengths and weaknesses. And not only did I have to deal with the emotional trauma of her leaving, but I still had to hold it together to keep my business going, and because I had people dependent on me for their livelihoods, which probably helped me a lot in the long run, but at the time it felt like a huge amount of pressure.
I bet.
But the thing I learned from all of that is resilience, I think, more than anything. And that, we all have chapters in our life, whether it's, career chapters or relationship chapters. And there's things that we move through. And when you can stop and process it and be grateful for the lessons that you've had, and look at setbacks and disappointments as learning curves, learning opportunities, and then hopefully you can find the pieces of the jigsaw from that are actually they're meant to help you become a better person through the ordeal of it. And then you can apply that learning to help other people.
Absolutely.
Which has been my biggest thing as a coach. I've helped quite a few people that have gone through relationship breakups and they know that I know the trauma that they're going through.
It's huge. It's huge. Well, thank you for that, Tuna. Does anyone else want to share? Jules or Stan or Jan?
I'm trying to think about which particular of mine. It doesn't have to be a particular one, but I guess my marriage breakup as well, because I decided to break it up, and we'd gone overseas and taken my whole business with us to try and expand it because things in New Zealand had changed for the cottage and craft industries, and you know they'd removed sales tax, and in came all the imports, and you know people were going kind of bankrupt overnight, potters that had been very successful, and because of what it was out of their control. So I went into a sculptural range and took it overseas, and I had a friend working with me, and we went to Holland for a year and to use the markets in Germany. And I'd been at that stage potting professionally for supplying supermarkets no, supplying galleries and markets all over New Zealand, and so it was really established, and so we took everything, lock, stock and barrel, my kiln, my wheel and everything to Europe to try it for a year and use the German markets, because we moved from domestic to a range. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the whole thing is, once we got over there, my marriage was also on the rocks, even though I didn't really realize it. And I took a partner friend with me who's also marriage broken up, and so the three of us went. And of course, when she got back, and she was Dutch, when she got back to Holland, emotional issues came up for her and she got serious diabetes. My ex-husband completely lost the plot when he was away from his comfort zone. And he just went into a sort of a state, and everything went wrong, even our appointments and everything. And because the other two were sort of fairly new into this business and it wasn't established, I lost a lot. I lost everything. I had to sell up every single piece of equipment. We went over, and we missed an appointment because somebody mucked it up. Well, I would have gotten in the car and gone straight back over, but there were three of us, so I'd sort of handed it over, and I lost everything. So, and I think that was such a huge impact, though, that I just it took me years to sort of to even realize what an impact it was. My marriage broke up. My husband went back to sort out his financial affairs, and I stayed on for until the end of the year. And then for the first time in my life, I'd been on my own. And I realized that, this marriage had to end. So it was incredible. So yeah, it was a huge, huge thing. But there I was, loose in Holland, in the Netherlands, and loving every moment. I didn't have any money. I had a bike. I was pelling tulip bulbs, and I'd never been happier. So it was an interesting, I felt as if this whole had come off my shoulders. But in saying that, I'm still scrambling back. You know what I mean? I never looked after myself financially. So
what did you learn from it?
I found myself. And then I found also myself that I'd hated and let people in to rule me. I relied on everyone else's telling me what to do or whatever. And so I found myself in Holland. I can remember that distinctly, and thinking it's the first time I'd ever been away from family or doing things for everybody else or whatever, or responsibilities, young mum, kids were growing up a little bit. So what did I learn? I'm still learning it, actually. But I learned that you can't rely on everyone else to make up your mind, and I let them do that. Instead of saying, hey, no, this is worth it. And so I had to change careers, change everything, change locations, and it was enormous, but it did take a while, and there was a lot of pain there to heal first. And I was very scared and very and my family disapproved, so there was a huge amount of scrambling up, and and strengthening to happen, you know, before I was back on the road. And then I went back overseas. And some of my people here still think I ran away from, you know, ran away. Of course, I didn't run away. I went on a new path. But yeah.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story. I didn't know that you were a potter. I used to be a potter as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was supplying markets. I made $1,000 pots a week. So returning them out. And then I went into a sculptural range. So, and then all that went and, you know, sort of out on the back of a truck. Because we took stock with us and everything, you know, it was a marketing play. It was a big, organized, and it should never have been thrown away so quickly, you know.
Oh, just think about it, Jules. If all that collapse would not have happened, you probably would have taken a lot longer to have found yourself.
Oh, true. Absolutely. But what happened to me is, of course, I just completely dissed all those years of artistry and I loved that profession. You know, I really enjoyed it, and I taught and I did workshops. So that all went, and then I started a whole new career in education.
Awesome. Which is probably where your soul really needs to be.
Well, both, I think. They can be combined. Yeah.
Yes, they most certainly can. So where's Jan and Stan? Stan, there you are, buddy. Do you have anything you'd like to share about what we're talking about tonight?
I don't know. I suppose one of the big ones would be, I was trying to look for the lessons, would be we shifted from the country up to the city. So you kind of went from being, hey, everybody knows who you are, and you know everybody in the community, to nobody, and and needing to start again and make new friends and do all that sort of stuff. I'd kind of shifted from Bruce Rock to Perth, and then went to Perth Modern School, which at that stage was a music specialist school because my sister was going there, but I wasn't a music student, so we were kind of in a way different environment.
That would have been very different.
You're coming from country with lots of sport and that sort of stuff to a school that's like, what's sport?
And were there any other traumas? That transition sounds really big.
Not that I can think of.
How old were you, Stan?
15. So I finished year 10, and then would have been transition anyway, because there's a district high school that I only went to year 10. So then you're either traveling to the next town for a couple of hours a day on the bus, or boarding there, or a lot of the farmers would do high school at boarding school anyway, or come to the city. So we kind of uprooted ourselves and traveled to the city, because my mum was like, well, once you finish year 11 and 12, you'll then need TAFE and university and that sort of stuff anyway. So we kind of spent 15 years in one place with, a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden you're like, finished year 10, packed up and left the kind of end of the week after that.
What did you learn from all that, Stan? I mean, how has that experience integrated, and how have you used that integration now?
I was always that kind of kid that people would come to when they needed something solved. I always say I was like MacGyver, but sometimes it was maths and English or science. But yeah, people kind of came looking for stuff. I often knew about what was happening with relationships and a few things like that. So I kind of come full circle and get into coaching. It's just kind of the same sort of thing. Go along and solve a bunch of problems.
So you've always done this, Stan?
Yes.
Sweet. So what that whole experience did was really because it took your attention away from all the things that you would normally do as a kid, which is play footy and do sports and cricket and all that, and really forced you to go more internal. And then your true gifts actually emerged from that. Did I get that right?
I don't know. It's kind of been a long journey from there, but a lot of it was, I was always kind of pretty resourceful, and that's generational, not just, my granddad and that sort of stuff all kind of, lived and made their own stuff, and might not have had heaps of money, but, kind of was, we can make this, we can fix it, we can, my granddad's still fixing things, and he's nearly 100. So,
wow, cool. Well, it seems like you come from really resourceful stock, and you come from a natural capability of coaching and helping people with a different kind of insight than they have. So actually, those experiences really birthed those forward in a much more real way for you, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, probably took a long time to kind of get that far. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. But the road was laid out, which I think is very awesome. Thanks for that, Steve.
Gary, you probably can't see Coralie on your screen. She came in late, but Coralie, do you have anything you want to share?
Oh, and then Jan's there too.
Yes, Jan.
Jan can go.
Hey, Coralie, how are you?
I'm feeling very raw about it all. Sorry, Jan, carry on.
No, that's okay. You go.
No, she wants you to go first, Jan.
Okay. I've been sitting here listening to everybody, and my mind's been going everywhere. But this morning, I woke up from a dream that my cat wasn't well, and I took him to the vet, and the cat ended up turning into a wombat. But when he was the vet did what he needed to do, and I brought him home, I was directed to put him in this hole. It's really weird. But what I woke up and thought about was, this is what I'm doing all the time. People tell me to do things, I jump up and do it. I hurt myself physically, I hurt myself mentally, but I still do it. And that comes from being a good girl, the eldest of 7, the other mother. And I'm still in that realm where I just automatically do it straight away, what people say. And that's why I thought, I've got to stop this, and this is what I've got to work on. So this is amazing. Every time I come on a Wednesday, there's something that I find out that it's digging up stuff.
Well, this is the whole point, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we could all sit around and have pleasant conversations about, right mind thinking and staying positive and setting goals, which is all good and very valuable. But it is the stuff we carry behind us that is unconscious that holds us back from actually executing our lives to be as if we would dream them to be. So, quite frankly, unless we're allowed to have these things begin to surface and percolate up that are laying at a much deeper level, we actually are running up the hill of our success, carrying the burden of our past behind us without any resolution. So, when Dee and I had the idea to start these masterminds, it was like, let's do it just a tad bit different. Let's help people make some real solid change and look at ourselves more authentically. So I want to thank you for that share. That was a weird dream, that's for sure. Cat into a wombat, huh? See, I have absolutely no idea as a Yank what a wombat looks like, but I think it's a little furry little bear thing, right?
It's
It's
quite
a big
big.
solid.
It's a
solid.
big thing about this big thing of like a big moving rock.
They
Oh,
are,
so that's
they
a
are like
wombat.
they are like bears with extremely short legs, actually. They
Okay.
They're very playful, but yeah, they're quite heavy and
Do
boisterous.
not hit one with your car because they get up and walk away and your car doesn't.
You know, it's so funny when I was walking in the bush in Australia, other than snakes and spiders, I kept thinking, there's nothing really big that's going to eat me or kill me, or there's like no predator, like big, awful predators. I was hiking in the mountains in Santa Fe, and Robert and I were walking through this beautiful hike. And we were coming through this valley, and we were coming up to our car, and there was no one else there. And all of a sudden, I get this creeped out feeling that we're being watched or even stalked. And I look over at Robert and I said, "Are you feeling what I'm feeling?" He goes, "Yeah, I feel like we're being stalked by a mountain lion." I said, "I have the exact same feeling that we're being stalked by a mountain lion." So stay close and let's pick up our pace just a little bit. Don't run. Pick up our pace just a little bit so we can get to the top of the canyon, which is what we did. But I tell you, I know we were being stalked by a mountain lion, and that's North America. And I kept thinking, wow, I never feel like this in Australia, but only in North America. Do those big ferocious creatures who will eat you actually are around a lot of the time. So it was interesting. I would love to meet a wombat because it won't eat me. So that would be good. Caroline, would you like to share anything, darling?
You don't have to. You don't.
Yeah, no, you don't have to. No pressure at all. If you do, great. If
No,
not,
I think I won't. Thanks.
no worries, darling. No worries.
Sometimes it's good just to percolate on these conversations, and I think that is what will happen as well a lot. I don't know about you guys, but there's always things to think about after this. Little seeds have been planted, and yeah.
Well, one of the things that I know sometimes when I hear things that I can't quite digest or even look at or even contemplate, I sit back, and it wasn't the time for me to know it or hear it or listen to it. I just sit and think about it, and I think about it some more until I start having little percolations of a breakthrough. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go to the next level of that at another point in time. I hear it again at some other point in time. It makes a tiny bit more sense. And then it just slowly begins to emerge in time. You know, we're all here to, evolve ourselves more than anything else. We're here to do our very best to heal ourselves, support each other in our journeys. That's the whole point of this, actually. And there's no hierarchy of, getting it handled or not getting it handled. There's tons of stuff I have that still percolates up for me. And I need to look at it and, do my best to not have it motivate my behavior in a way that's misaligned to my values. And so I get happier and happier. And that is, I think, progress for all of us. It's these small things, these small incremental changes that we're all able to make. Even if it's just super small and super infrequent, it's still change. And I know that I've become more peaceful, less fearful, more communicative, take responsibility better, take ownership better. And I've stopped blaming people. Not that I don't judge periodically, but, not as long or as hard as I used to. And that's progress. So none of us are going to be perfect here. That's for doggone sure. Well, maybe some of you will, but I always say, I teach this stuff. So I must be the world's worst student because I have to hear it over and over and over and over again. And I think I must be like just the world's worst because I must have to be taught it. Some people just hear it a few times and they get it, run with it, and everything's good. Not me. I keep teaching myself by having to teach it to other people. I get to relearn it over and over and over again. So however we do it, we do it. All I know is that the traumas of our past will shape us and sometimes distort us unless we resolve the negative emotions around the past. We look at others and we think, how could they have done that? And then sometimes I've looked at myself and I was like, how could I have done that? And then if I dig deeper, I find all the different emotional states and imprints from my past that would have caused that trigger or I acted badly to trigger me off. And until I'm able to do deeper levels of healing as I go on my journey, I will do triggering behavior that will not be as aligned to me, at least to the person I'm evolving to be, as I could. And that's the whole intention of all of this, is how do we begin to reframe, reshape our past, let go. And when I say forgiveness always means that someone's done something that, is wrong. There are people that do really bad things. There's no doubt about it. And even when they do bad things, at least in my life experience, there is something that's motivating them that has been on an automatic pilot. They get triggered, they do bad things. And if I'm in the sight of that, I have several different options that I have to work out for myself. If it negatively affects me, I get to look at how I'm going to frame it in my mind, the meaning I'm going to give it. I got an email from a client the other day, and they were saying something about, this just happened to me. I think it was someone showed up at his door and threatened to murder him, only in America, of course. And he said, I handled it really well. I talked myself down off the ledge, and all of that. And he said, how did I draw that to me? And I said, well, great for, looking at it from a point of responsibility and accountability. And sometimes it's just plain old karma being worked out with people. Maybe you didn't attract it to you, at least not in this life, but perhaps from some other time. But the truth of it is, you don't have to analyze it. You just have to sit down and go, okay, if it happens, then if it happened, then there's some sort of part of me that participated in this at some point in time. How do I want to respond to it now? And he responded in a really, really conscious way. And I supported him in getting a restraining order on the person and reporting it to the police so that there's a record of it, which he did. And I said, you respond in the most loving way you can, and then you take the appropriate actions based upon our society and our culture, and you protect yourself in a way that is in alignment with your values. And that is really the best you can. Like, don't overanalyze it. Don't try to pick it apart and figure it out. Just know that it occurred, and now what is your choice? And he did that, which I think was commendable for him. And he wrote me later and he said, well, I did everything that you suggested, and I feel like a complete release from the experience now. And I was like, awesome. But these bizarre things will show up in our lives. It's not so much that they don't show up, it's that when they show up, it's how we respond to them that makes the difference. And so in our response, that is where we can kind of begin to start measuring how much healing we've accomplished for ourselves, how much we've been able to change, how more succinctly we stay out of the drama triangle, not villainizing anyone and not playing the victim for too long, but assisting ourselves just to take the right and appropriate action and carry as little bitterness and resentment and the need for revenge in our hearts as we possibly can. And when that happens, we free ourselves. Because as long as we do not free ourselves from those types of experiences and those types of relationships, they have power over us. And the more they have power over us, the more we're triggered and the more we stay enslaved by them. They don't mean to enslave us, but we sort of enslave ourselves. So this is where I think the rubber hits the road, when we really take a stand for our own peace and how we want to be and who we want to be. So I've run my mouth a lot. Does anyone have anything they want to share?
I just want to say that all this sharing together is just pure therapy, isn't it?
It can be.
It's just listening to everybody that's had their own experiences, and we do keep going back to, well, I do keep going back to that same old dysfunction, but not so long, not for long. You know,
Sure.
you try and not repeat the patterns, you know, the patterns that are, you know, that are not doing you any good. You know, so and what a joy it is to be able to come on here on a Wednesday morning and just feel like you've got this beautiful squishy mattress to sort of drop into when you've purged yourself, you know. It's really great.
We're all a cushy mattress, you guys. You know, I just had this thought that I wanted to share really quickly. I don't know what's happening in the rest in other countries, but in North America, people are commenting all the time about the levels of anger and division that are rising here in North America. And people are saying even in our families and amongst family members, the level of intolerance and anger is almost at a breaking point. And I know that we're in a global community, quite frankly. And I know what's happening in India is horrific. What's happening in other countries, like Myanmar and some of the other countries where truly genocide is occurring. And in Palestine, when the Israelis have now, you know, caused lots and lots of deaths as a consequence of the continued violence there. But so many people and so many parts of the world and so many different types of crises that I sit back and think, each one of us, whether we are consciously aware of it or not, it affects us because each person, each human being, we have empathy for them all. I spent quite a bit of time in India and I love the Indian people. They drive really badly here in North America, so that's a part I don't particularly care for, but I love the Indian culture. And the thing that I think is really, really powerful is when we individually can create more peace and harmony within ourselves individually, because there's not a lot we can do about how people are moving forward in their lives and what they're experiencing on other continents. But one thing we can do is not duplicate anger, nor violence, nor violent thoughts or resentments towards other people. We can start to quiet our own minds and quiet our own hearts around our past relationships and begin to start rising this consciousness or this vibration. I know that sounds very hippie, but it actually is a vibration. Emotions are vibrations. Rise this vibration of acceptance of ourselves, love and forgiveness for ourselves and others, and walk our days in that state of mind. The 100th monkey theory is that, and whether the 100 monkey theory is actually true or not, I like the idea and the concept, but the whole theory is that was one monkey went down and washed his little fruit. I think it was a female monkey actually, because girls are smarter than boys, went down and washed her fruit in the river, and the rest of her little family started going down and washing the fruit in the river before they ate it, and then the rest of the tribal monkeys came down and washed the fruit in the river. And then when 100 monkeys were down at the river washing their fruit in this new habit, all the monkeys on all the other islands began to do the exact same behavior. So if we hold that as a possibility, the more that we're able to actually quiet our minds, still ourselves, and if you're not meditating, I would highly recommend that you develop a form of meditation that you do for yourselves to still and quiet the mind. Because I truly believe this, that we are love incarnate. You'll like that one, Callie, but I do believe we are. And we don't need to be taught how to love. We already are love. And the more that we quiet the mind, the more that natural expression of who we truly are comes to the surface. it can't be done in a relationship with someone else. I think this is a place that when you yourself quiet your mind and tap into that, I believe, that infinite field of unconditional love, what begins to happen is your vibration raises, and that literally assists the entire planet. More of us that do it, the greater act of service we actually accomplish, and the stiller and more peaceful our hearts can be. And if we all did that, it would be an amazing process for this mastermind to do. So I would love to do an invitation to you guys that if you chose to take that on, to actually quiet your minds and to assist you in doing a daily meditational practice. And one that I use is a mantra-based meditation where I just sit. I'm initiated into this process called Shurachapit Yoga, and it's a mantra-based yoga. And so I sit and I repeat the names of God. And when I do that, that is the only thing that absorbs my mind, is my soul connecting to what I consider the divine for me. So I would go to the internet, find 3 to 4 to 5 names that resonate with you, that represent God. Maybe they're in different languages or from different cultures, but find 4 or 5 names that are names of God in those cultures or times, and sit, and like a lover pining for the beloved, repeat those names over and over and over again. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, all of our journeys are about returning back to a source of purity and pure spirit. So ultimately, if we've had less than a great time here in the physical form, which most of us have had less than a great time here in the physical form, speak and call out the names of God in your own way, sitting quietly. Hopefully you're not screaming the names of God so your neighbors can rest and sleep in the early morning hours or the late night hours. But just repeat the names silently within yourself, in a state of love and longing, and notice what happens. Because when that sense of divine presence comes in, then you feel love, and then that love is such a powerful resonance. I know when I was in India, the master would always say that the angelic realm is waiting for humans to actually look and turn their attention and ask for help. And then he would say, but most humans are so externally focused that they never look within, which is the only place peace and God exists. And rather than pine for the things of the world or for someone else, pine for the one thing that has never left you. Pine for that creative force that is all around you, that provides you the oxygen you breathe, the water you drink, the shelter you live in, and pine for that. Pine in gratitude. And I was like, that makes a heck of a lot of sense to me. So my invitation to you all, if you want to take on that challenge for the next week, spend anywhere from 15 minutes to a half hour. And I've been doing this for a long time, so I do it for about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, because it takes me a long time to try to still this, so I need longer. You guys may be able to do it like that, not me. I've been doing this for like over 50 years, and I still sit down and struggle to still my mind. And during that, the last 15 minutes of a meditation session, I can kind of get my mind still. So try it out. See what happens. More importantly, raise your vibrational level. And that's the best way that I know to do it. So I would love to end our session. We're a tiny bit over with just one word from each one of us on how we want to leave the information from tonight and take it with us for the rest of the week. So Jan, what is your word for tonight?
I think it's the same as last week, self-love.
Judy? V?
Love the lesson.
Coraline?
Yeah, love.
Thank you. Jules?
Oh. Pine, love.
Nice.
I got the word pine. You said pine for what you do have. And I thought that was
What?
perfect. Pine, so pine
Thank
for
you.
what you do have.
Thank you, darling. Stan the man.
I'm still laughing at Julie's stuff. I think I'm going to have work.
Nice.
What popped in
Tony?
my mind? But it didn't.
Great. Thank you for that.
I'll go with vibration.
Great. Akali?
Acceptance.
Mm. Mine is practice. Practice. Okay, gang. I think we're right at the tail end. I only have one more client to facilitate before I can sleep tonight. So I just want you all to have an incredible day. V, I will always be eternally grateful for you asking for me to participate in this, because it's such a lovely thing for us, and I really, really enjoy it. Now, V, is it true like next week you're going to a yoga retreat?
I'm in Broome and you're in Santa Fe, so we're having a week off, but we'll be back the following week.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Okay, rather than 1 week of meditation, we are suggesting 2 weeks of meditation.
You get 2 weeks to practice.
That's exactly right. Okay, gang, God bless you all. You have a great night or a great day, and I'll have a great night. Okay? See ya.
God bless.
Thanks.
God bless.
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
gang.
Bye.